9, I'm Cynthia Frelund, and this is the Numbers Game TNF Primer, a preview of Texans at Jets through the lens of contextualized data, along with a few fun extra facts and stats to know. Quickly, a note on our trade deadline/guest episode. It seems like the consensus is to do an extra 30-minute episode with a guest. I love that, and I also appreciate all of your suggestions as to who you want to hear from. They're really good and got me thinking big time. I have a number of asks out, but please keep your ideas coming this week, especially as more trades start to come through before Monday. As always, it means so much to me that you're choosing to spend some of your time and energy with me. So let's get into it and make this one the best one we've done so far. In week 8, there were 6 games with go-ahead scoring plays in the final minute of the fourth quarter, which ties a record for the most in a single week since 1970. I thought we were going to get chaos in the Monday Nighter and break the record, and the Giants did set themselves up to take a swing at it, but we will just have to wait on that for a different week. However, for everyone except Patriots fans, maybe even them, it certainly felt like chaos in Foxborough, where the Jets, who were touchdown favorites, dropped a game to the Patriots. The week kicks off at MetLife, where these Jets are now 2-point favorites, hosting the AFC South division-leading Texans. Let's break this one down by phase again, because that was fun last week, but let's also evolve it into some matchups too. Starting with quarterback notes. CJ Stroud has been under pressure on about 41% of his dropbacks this season. Actually, it's 40.7, and that is the 4th highest rate in the league. He leads the league with 741 passing yards when under pressure, averaging 7.7 yards per attempt, the 7th most, and has generated a 15.1 passing EPA on pressure dropbacks, that is 4th most. However, this one will be a big test because the Jets defense is tracking at the 6th highest pressure rate, 38.3%, and on those pressure downs, they've held teams to the lowest offensive success rate. Stop me if you've heard this one somewhere before, but Aaron Rodgers, he's been getting the ball out quickly this season. Actually, 2.59 seconds is his average to be exact. That is the 2nd fastest, and he has the 3rd highest rate of passing attempts under 2.5 seconds. It is 53%. This will also be an interesting strength-on-strength matchup because the Texans defense has allowed just 5.4 yards per attempt on quick passes this season. That's the 3rd fewest in the NFL. One more point here. Rodgers has targeted go routes with these quick passes on about 17% of attempts, which is the most by 5 percentage points. And the Texans, they've allowed only 6 total receptions of more than 10 air yards off quick passes. However, 1 did result in a touchdown. I'm telling you this so we can go look for the go off quick passes to see if the Jets can get the explosive passing play game going or if the Texans defense can shut it down. Explosive passing plays are one of the main keys to this game, and due to both Stephon Diggs being lost for the season and Nico Collins being on IR, the advantage tips in favor of the Jets. Moving on to the running backs. Joe Mixon has earned 107 rushing yards over expected this season. That's the 9th most in the league. He's also earned more than 10 yards in a single rush on about 16% of his attempts. Breece Hall has caught 33 of his 46 targets for 316 yards and a touchdown. His 77 yards after the catch over expected are the 2nd most among running backs. In this phase of the game, Mixon's tackle-breaking ability gives the Texans a clear advantage. The Jets defense ranks 31st or 2nd most generous in missed tackle rate in the run game on all downs. And they've given up tied for the 2nd most rushing first downs in the league on 1st or 2nd down combined. If you have never heard me talk about it, I spent way too much time and tons of money studying offensive and defensive line play. That was my master's degree. So I have to bring it up in this matchup because it's too good not to bring up. And I'm still paying my student loans. The interior of the Texans' offensive line has allowed the most sacks at 15.5. They've also allowed the most quick pressures with 30. The O-line as a whole has given up the 3rd most unblocked pressures this season. The Jets' interior defender, Quinnen Williams, has picked up the pressure pace over the past 4 games, notching 15 pressures, tied for the 2nd most by any defensive tackle over that span. As for the Jets' O-line, right tackle Morgan Moses has allowed the 3rd lowest pressure rate at the position and only 2 total quick pressures. Left tackle Tyron Smith has allowed the 6th lowest pressure rate at his position, but 12 of the 21 pressures he's allowed have occurred in under 2.5 seconds, which actually is tied for the 4th most in the league. Houston leads the league in pressure rate at 43.8%, in large part due to their elite edges, with Will Anderson having the third fastest get-off time, leading to the 10th most quick pressures in the league, and Danielle Hunter having 51 pressures, which paces the league. And by the way, 20 of them are quick pressures, and that ranks second. Offensive line advantage, Jets, but pressure advantage, Texans. Why? Because it comes from so many different places. Houston's interior duo of Tim Settle and Folorunso Fatukasi, who by the way used to be a Jet, are the only defensive tackle duo with a pressure rate of over 12% this season. Settle is also only 2 sacks away from setting a career high. And look out for the player wearing 0. Off-ball linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair has generated a career-high 12 pressures on 41 pass rushes this season. That is an over 29% rate. In simulations where the Texans win, C.J. Stroud attempts fewer than 31 passes, but Dalton Schultz earns more than 44 receiving yards and Tank Dell more than 59. And if you think the Texans win, a Dalton Schultz touchdown becomes a much stronger play. In simulations where the Jets win, Aaron Rodgers attempts fewer than 33 passes, but Garrett Wilson exceeds 62 receiving yards and Breece Hall catches at least 5 passes. Bottom line in my overall simulations, Jets win 24-21. And our TNF menu includes the following chalky bland projections. Remember, these happen in 55% or more of my overall simulations. Number 1, Breece Hall to rush for fewer than 67 yards. In addition to being a top pass rusher, Houston's Will Anderson Jr. is the best edge at stopping the run with a 7.1 run stuff rate. Number 2, Davante Adams to catch at least 5 passes. He's lining up in the slot like it's 2016. Maybe that is the youth elixir Aaron Rodgers was talking about. And number 3, Tyler Conklin to earn at least 25 receiving yards. Think about the pressures coming from all over that Houston front. They also like to blitz a lot. So a good comp is the Vikings. And in that game, he had 55 yards. As for the spicy notes, these are usually events that happen in at least 48% of overall simulations. But for this game, they randomly all happen to be in at least 50%. Usually I say 2 bland and 1 spicy is the menu, but this week maybe we go 2 spicy and 1 bland to get the risk where it feels worth it. Whatever recipe you want, just optimize it for yourself. Spicy number 1, Joe Mixon to rush for at least 81 yards. Rewind the show to the part about where the Jets missed tackles if you need to. Number 2, Garrett Wilson to catch fewer than 6 passes. Sin, you told us he's going to have more than 62 yards in sims where the Jets win, and you have the Jets winning, so what gives? Well, since Davante Adams showed up, Wilson's air yard per target rate has almost doubled. It went from about 8 to now about 15. Fewer catches, more yards, that's how you get this answer. And spicy number 3, Aaron Rodgers to throw for at least 2 touchdowns. Remember, short, quick passes to running backs or tight ends, they also count as passing touchdowns. And this one actually happens in 51% of simulations. I will see you back here for the full episode in a day or so. There will be a newsletter sign up on my socials this week. So if you're interested, get on that. And remember, projections, scores, and more will be ready for you to use as you wish on Wednesday. And those will eventually also be in the newsletter, or a link to it will be in the newsletter. Thank you for hanging out. And if you like the show, please pass it along so we can continue to grow.